Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new monthly ranking. And today I'm ranking all the movies that came out in the month of March 2021 that I got to check out in the month of March. Before I start with my ranking, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, my name is Max Newberg. Welcome to Max Talk Movies. Hit that like button. Please comment down below your ranking of your month. I probably missed some movies that came out in the month of March. And do you disagree? Maybe my bottom one is your favorite one. Maybe my favorite one's your bottom one. Let's have a fun discussion in the comment section down below. Also, please subscribe and ring the bell if you're new to the channel. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, and rankings like these. So if you like any of those things, please consider ringing that bell for notifications and subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into the rankings. So this is actually a weird month. A lot of people said they saw a lot of movies. I did not. Obviously, this is one of the busier months of my life the past year. But February, I saw a lot of new movies. And at the moment, I just have 5 for this month. So we'll talk about the 5, which is basically, this is not a great month. There's only really one movie I really enjoyed or loved this month. So let's get into that right now. As you can see, starting off at number 5 is Cherry, the brand new Apple TV Plus film that was released at the beginning of March. This was, for me, the most disappointing film that I saw all year long at the moment. The fact that the Russo brothers are directing things and Tom Holland is the lead actor, and there's a lot of promise about the film that is going so different from the MCU. I was really excited to see this film. And other than Tom Holland giving it his all as this character who is a college kid, falls in love, but then when a potential breakup happens, he goes to the military, then he comes back and he has a lot of mental problems and starts taking drugs and then robbing banks. The story itself is interesting on paper, but I thought it was handled very poorly, executed with the script and the direction. The script doesn't really give a lot of character depth at all to any other character. We have Tom Holland's girlfriend and wife, I guess, who is a big part of the movie, and she makes very rash, big time, life-threatening choices that happen out of nowhere. And you don't get enough time with her because we're spending all the time with Tom Holland. And also because the script, in my opinion, is one of the lazier scripts of the year. It has so much voice over creeping in. It has so much unnecessary voiceover. I'm pretty much in the middle of voiceover. Good voiceover can really elevate a movie and some can hurt it. And it completely hurts it here as well. There's also breaking the fourth wall in a couple of scenes that pulls me right out of a potential scenes, because, for example, there's a scene where Tom Holland's robbing a bank and we're having him talk to us through his thought process. We can understand what he's thinking about just off of his facial reactions. Is them not trusting a really good actor in a movie. And then you go to the Russo brothers, who I thought handled this movie terribly as a director point of view. The fact that the script wasn't good, they try to do a flashy direction, and at times the direction was a distraction from the actual story that at times could be interesting, but because the direction is so flashy and it wants to be a special movie, it just doesn't always work. So this for me was a very disappointing film in the month of March. Let's move in to number 4, and that is where we get to Bad Trip, a Netflix movie that came out, which is basically a hidden prank movie with Eric Andre, Lil Rel Howery, and Tiffany Haddish. I had some fun with the movie. Some of the pranks made me really laugh. The gorilla scene, the bar scene in the film. There's a couple. And Tiffany Haddish's, most of her pranks are really funny. But while a lot of those scenes can be really funny, and it was a breeze. I wasn't looking at the time. It's only an hour 26. It's a fast-paced, harmless movie. At the same time, just like a lot of these prank movies do, they have to have a story to make it a feature-length runtime. And for me, the story was just not up to par. About Eric Andre finally seeing his high school crush come back into his life, and he wants to go to New York to see her. That story with him and Lil Rel, who we get literally no background, they're just automatically friends, just did not work for me. It was at times too cheesy, and the pranks with the two of them interacting, Andre and this girl, did not work for me. And again, some of the pranks as well in the movie, some of the pranks felt like I've seen them done better in a lot of situations. Like, for example, he put his hand in a blender. We've kind of seen that happen a billion times. So there were some pranks that felt very stereotypical in these type of movies, but there were some pranks for sure that had me belly laughing and had me enjoy myself. So a harmless Netflix hidden prank movie. Let's move into number 3 on this list, and that is Coming to America, the sequel, 32 years in the making. Again, another disappointing film when I watched it for the first time. And again, I love the original film. When I watched it for the first time, I thought I had a good time with it. A lot of the old characters were great. But then I started to reflect. I really sat on this film, thought about the story, thought about the other character decisions, and I started to not really like the story at all for the movie. Now, I still had a lot of fun with the movie. Now, it's weird about movies that are this long distance between its first film and its sequel. Normally, the new characters are the ones who feel fresh and actually add something to the franchise, and the old characters feel pretty washed up. But in this film, it's the complete opposite. The best part of the movie is when the characters from the original are on screen for the most part, especially John Amos, who has probably the best scene in the entire film. His scene at his restaurant with Eddie Murphy was a really good scene, easily the best part of the film. But you had, Eddie Murphy doing his stuff, Arsenio Hall doing all the different characters, but James Earl Jones, all these people coming back, and they were the best parts of the film. And Arsenio and the new cast included Wesley Snipes, who was very good, and Kiki Lane, who was very good. But the main issue with the film is the story. It feels too much like they just did the reverse of the first film, except instead of Eddie Murphy's character, Hakeem, in the first one, going to America, it's his son coming to Zamunda, but his son just isn't as nearly as likable as Hakeem was 32 years ago. And that's the big problem with the movie. As well, they really established the fact that him and his daughter that his daughter clearly is going to be ruling Zamunda, wants to be ruling Zamunda, but instead they go for a guy who's from New York who has no business to be in Zamunda, but they just don't give the character an people could say it's too much female empowerment. I disagree. I think they really needed to hone in on the fact that Kiki Lane's character wants to rule Zamunda. In the first 20 minutes, I was like, all right, this is going to be good. This is good for her. And then she just kind of disappears and then would start helping out the brother. And it just did not work because her character just should have been the featured storyline in the movie, but they went for a different storyline of Jermaine Fowler that just wasn't as good. And the story just felt very bland. And Hakeem as well was very unlikable. He makes a lot of character decisions to people in the old cast and the new cast that made him quite unlikable in some scenes. And you can't believe that his smarts would make these dumb decisions. So it's a movie that I still had fun enough time with, but still a pretty disappointing film when I look back at it. Coming in next, even though I saw this in April because I had to wait for it in theaters, it is Godzilla versus Kong coming in at number 2, the movie I saw yesterday. The first movie that I've ever seen in theaters in over a year. And I did see this on a big, the regular theater screen, and it was great to see it on a theater. And I was watching people do reviews of the movie when I came back, and people were like, I wish I got to see that in the theater. If you have a movie theater near you, you have to see this in a movie theater in a safe way, because this movie is made to be seen in a movie theater. It's not really seen to be a streaming movie. Gotta see this on the biggest screen you got if you can go to a theater, but I would highly recommend it if you can find a theater that does it in a very safe way. But overall, guys, I really did have fun with Godzilla versus Kong. When they are fighting each other, it is really great. And the part that I wasn't expecting was that Kong really was the main focus of the movie. He actually had a character arc. Godzilla was just breaking stuff in the first act. He kind of disappears once in a while. It was really Kong's movie, which I thought was a good thing. And Kong's relationship with this kid, who, by the way, was by far the best human in the film. Their dynamic about communicating with sign language, that was easily the best human storyline they had to work with in the film. The CGI looked great. The film was always in on its own joke, which I thought was great. And it breezed by. Never looked at my clock, never looked at my phone the entire movie to see when the movie was going to end. I was really just enjoying myself in the movie theater. Obviously, I had a lot to do with being in a theater for the first time in a year, but still I had a lot of fun with the movie. Obviously, the human storylines were very dull in the movie. They weren't awful, but they weren't good either. They were very meh. Nothing was really going on with the human characters, with Alexander Skarsgård, Rebecca Hall. Brian Tyree Henry was probably the best adult human character. He was really funny, but his subplot really wasn't that great because while Brian Tyree Henry, Gillian Dennison, and Millie Bobby Brown doing their thing, they're doing nothing to do with the two Titans. They're dealing with Apex, who basically is creating Mecha Godzilla. So they're really not a part of Godzilla versus Kong, the actual Godzilla versus Kong. So when we go, at least when we're with Skarsgård and Hall, we're with Kong. It feels like something's happening because Kong is on screen, even though those two, the adult characters in Kong's storylines aren't good either. It just felt like we were missing a lot more energy when we went to that subplot. But overall, other than humans again being damaging to the film, I still had a fun time. And really, if you really want to dive deep into the story, and I have done it, I do not like this film more because the story is quite dumb. Common sense is just thrown out the window. And there's some things like, how can this happen? How does this character not figure out something? So again, story-wise, it really isn't that good at all. But as a Godzilla versus Kong fight movie, I think it works for sure. And all these movies, by the way, are not 3 and a 5 and below so far. But now our last movie coming in number 1 is Zack Snyder's Justice League, which easily comes in number 1 over this really, in my opinion, weak month. I really like this movie a lot. And this is someone who isn't the biggest DCEU fan, even though I'm a big Man of Steel fan and I really liked Wonder Woman, and I thought Aquaman was fine. I really hated the theatrical cut of Justice League. I really hated it. I didn't feel like it was offensive to me, but I really didn't enjoy myself in the theater watching it. So I was so thrilled that I didn't really care that it was 4 hours long. I really sat down for it. I had 2 hours, then I took a lunch break, and then I went right back into it. But I really enjoyed this movie. And I thought the story was actually coherent and seamless throughout the entire film. Cyborg was a character who I hated in the theatrical cut, who was by far the best aspect of this film. Ray Fisher was great. Wonder Woman had some really great scenes. The score from Junkie XL, which has been, for some reason, controversial. I really like the score for the movie. Everyone had their part, and they actually gave death to Steppenwolf, who was just a big guy who blew stuff up in the theatrical cut. This one, he has a story with Darkseid. You get his motivation on why he's doing stuff to the Justice League. That all makes sense. Some of the Superman stuff really hit me emotionally, especially the scene where he's going through the Kryptonian ship, picking up his black suit when you hear Russell Crowe and Kevin Costner's voice. That was a really powerful scene as well. So overall, I didn't think all the subplots worked. Really Flash's subplots for me just did not work as well. I wasn't really emotionally attached to his father or the Iris West scene, and I really didn't like Mira. And I thought that the epilogue went on for a bit too long, and I'm not a huge fan of Jared Leto's Joker. But other than that, guys, this is my second favorite movie of the entire year so far. I really like the movie. I can't get to loving it, but I really do like the movie a lot. And it's a movie that I will definitely rewatch over and over again, even though it is 4 hours long. So thank you guys so much for watching my ranking of the month of March 2021. I'm sorry I already saw 5 films, but this is my last month of school, and then I'm going to be off. So I'll be going to the movie theaters more often since they're back open. A lot more reviews are coming down the pipeline. So please like the video, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, do all of those things, comment. Let's get to 100 subscribers as fast as possible. Share the video for people to join the community, and I'll see you guys in the next one.